Hi, I'm Adam and welcome back to First Man Photography. Now it's that time of year where a lot of us will reassess and plan what we're going to do in the year ahead. And that's exactly what I've been doing. But this time I thought actually that's exactly what I would do if I was starting out from zero, starting out from scratch, trying to become a full-time landscape photographer. And even if that's not your intention, I think you'll get some value out of this video. A, to see what we have to go through to make a living from this, and then B, little ways that you could make a bit of money on the side from your photography. Because I know a lot of you out there are phenomenal photographers. So in the midst of this beautiful landscape on a lovely still January day, I would love it if you were to come with me. Let's go. Before we get going today though, this video is sponsored by Squarespace. If you need a domain name, a website or an online store, make your next move with Squarespace. Now, number one is very simply to make stuff and sell it. Now, most of us as landscape photographers are artists, so we want to be creating our artwork as much as possible, and when we can, sell it. Now, we can do this in different forms, and the first and probably most obvious is prints. I talk about printing a lot. It's something I absolutely love to do, and I think it gives a meaning to photography that sometimes otherwise doesn't exist. But the market for prints is a difficult one. It's small and potentially getting smaller. It's a supply and demand thing. As the demand shrinks, the supply is increasing because we're all out here making prints and doing photography and doing it better than ever. For an economy or a market, that isn't ideal circumstances. So I wouldn't expect to make too much money from prints. I've made lots of videos about this before, including this one where I talked about how to print, price and sell your photographs. I think that's really worth watching, but it's fun. I love selling prints. I don't sell that many. Maybe I'll be lucky to sell 4 a month, but those 4 a month are incredibly meaningful to me and I really love it. And every time I ship one off, it's about the most fulfilling thing I do as a landscape photographer because someone values my work that much that they want to pay money for it and then put it on their wall. It's a very beautiful thing. Number 2 is calendars. There's a lot of landscape photographers that create a calendar. They're good because they're relatively cheap. A lot of people still use them apparently, but I don't. And for that reason, I've never made one of my own. There's also issues with VAT when you're shipping them abroad, and I think it would kind of feel a little bit hypocritical if I was to do it. Books, I think, is a really great thing to do. Create a book or a zine. It's very, very satisfying to do, but it's an incredible amount of hard work. I am going to be releasing another one, though, in 2024 called Perspectives. I'm working on that at the moment, so look out for that a bit later in the year. But yeah, I think they're a fantastic thing. I buy a lot of books as well because it's a great way to see a project or a portfolio or a selection of that photographer's great work. And like I said, making stuff and selling it is absolute bread and butter stuff for photographers. It may not be the biggest portion of our income, but if you're not already doing this on the side, then I would be very wary about leaping in and going full-time at photography because you want to at least build something of a market around your work before you make that leap. And it's a really good thing to try and do on the side anyway. Now, I'm sure you're aware that being a full-time landscape photographer isn't an easy way to make money. It's hard, and therefore we need to have the right mindset. So my next one is to not be defensive. We need to be positive and be on the attack, be on the offensive, making things, doing things, and creating things, because I see a lot of photographers spending far too much time on the defense. An example of that is people saying, I've had my image stolen, what should I do? In the digital realm, this is not something I would waste any energy on. I've had my images stolen numerous times before, and I don't spend a single second worrying about it. Could I have made an extra 10, an extra £20,000 on the royalties from that? Maybe, I don't know. But I know that with that same energy that I would have spent on the defence with lawyers and trying to get that money back, I've put into other things. I've gone on the attack. I've been creative and I've made maybe 30 or 40k with that same time and energy. I feel so bad for people when I see them doing this And I get it, you don't want your stuff stolen. But I'm afraid they don't get it. In 2024, in the digital world, I've said it so many times now, the price of digital content is going to trend down to zero. If your image can be copy and pasted and shared anywhere, it's gonna be, because that's the incentive for the person wanting to use their image. If they don't have to pay for it, and they're probably gonna get away with it, they're just gonna do it anyway. This is the whole point why I'm constantly promoting printing. Create physical things, because they're much harder to copy, they're much harder to recreate, because it requires physical resources. There's a tie to the physical world that your digital image that's been stolen never will be. So please don't, you do you, but just, I don't waste any time. There's no negative energy, there's no bad vibes, and I'm just all about the attack, doing new and fun things, despite this rant. Also, I would completely ignore the threat of AI. AI is going to do its thing. It may remove some jobs in a more technical industry, but I think in the creative industry, I'm pretty confident now that AI is never going to take away the meaning and the fulfillment and the satisfaction we get, or humans get, from telling each other stories. We're not going to be ever, I don't think, be interested in the story that an AI tells, because there's a lack of human connection. So don't waste your time thinking about that. I did, I regret it, but that's learned now and in the past. Ooh, that light behind me is looking very lovely now. Much better than was forecast. I'm excited about a little composition I have in mind for the end of this video. But the next thing I'm going to be getting back into this year is workshops. Now, despite that, it is not without its severe challenges. And I think there's a few things you should know if you're thinking about starting workshops or tours. Now, the first problem is the dwindling economy. As things get tougher for people, discretionary spending disappears, and workshops and tours are most definitely part of a discretionary spend. No one needs or has to do that thing. And then on top of that, when you actually break it down, the money is not all that great. Now, you might think, well, people are buying a tour for £1,500 and there's 8 people going. I think 8 people's too much, actually. But even if you did that with 6 people, if you do it in the longer days, you are on duty essentially from sunrise all the way through to sunset, and then all the way through dinner, and then all the way through the evening, as you are sort of taking up that leadership role. You want to be providing the best service you can. And personally, I feel a duty towards the people to be there and to continue talking about photography and having a good time. And it turns into a lot of hours. So if you actually break down the profit you make into the number of hours, it's not actually that different to what a hairdresser or a car mechanic gets paid. You're also dealing with quite a large amount of risk, particularly if you get out into the mountains. And if you don't think about that at all, you could get into a real pickle. With all that said though, and the reason I'm getting back into it with a partner in crime is that it can be great fun. It's collaborative, it's fun, it's creative. You get to spend time with people that just want to do photography and love the outdoors. So look out for my new workshops and tours with my partner in crime, and more will be revealed very soon. Now, one thing I really wish I had discovered earlier in my photography journey is Squarespace. I wasted so much time trying to build a website in the early days before I discovered Squarespace. If I discovered them earlier, I could have saved myself so much time and my website would have looked way better. Squarespace, in my opinion, is just the best place for photographers to build their website because it's just so easy to do and your website will look unique and beautiful. You just tell Squarespace what you want, they suggest some really nice templates for you, and then you choose one, put some of your beautiful pictures on there and a little bit of your text, and before you know it, you will have a fantastic looking website and you get to control how your images look, unlike on social media where these days I find it just very, very frustrating. Now you can start with just a really simple gallery to make your images look big, bold and beautiful, and then if you want to start selling things, you can upgrade it just as easily to an online store where you can sell things like I do, like prints and books and stuff like that. When you sell one, it's just a fantastic feeling, and you get a nice little notification from Squarespace letting you know that you've made a sale, and that is especially exciting. So yeah, why not start 2024 off with a Squarespace trial. Just go to squarespace.com to start that free trial today. And then if you like what you've created, use the offer code FIRSTMAN, tell them I sent you there, and you will get 10% off your first purchase. What an exciting little project that would be for the start of 2024. Yeah, but Adam, you're just a YouTube photographer. Now, I am totally okay with that these days because, to be honest, I don't know where the photographer ends and the filmmaker starts. It's just what I do because I'm not a selfish photographer. I want to share my thoughts and my insights and I guess provide some kind of public service, whether that's education, entertainment, or even inspiration. The messages I receive from people about how some of my videos have helped them through tough times are extremely humbling, and it makes all of this worthwhile. So when some other jealous pro says, yeah, but he's just a YouTube photographer, I honestly don't care. And actually, I feel sorry for those people because if you're a professional these days and you are dismissing YouTube so freely, I think you're absolutely insane. YouTube is an extremely effective marketing tool. You can talk about the things that you're making and selling that we talked about earlier. For me, it's made me go out more often and take more landscape photographs. And in this AI world, more and more people are saying that the backstory behind your images are going to be important. Now, all the images I've taken over the last 6 or 7 years have a YouTube video to go alongside it. And in my book, I put a QR code at the back for that image to see the video where it was made. It's a fantastic tool to document what you're doing and share it with people. Now, if you want to get sponsored, you're obviously going to need to work hard and build up a bit of a following, but everybody starts at zero. I know this medium is not easy to do and it's not going to be for everyone to be on camera, but we all started at zero and I was dreadful when I started. But one effective tactic I've noticed in the last year or so is that there is some money, marketing money floating about. So if you have a project idea, try taking that to a sponsor and floating that idea to them for them to sponsor it and you make a video about it, because a lot of marketing people are busy. They don't want to have to think of the ideas themselves. They want you to think of the idea. And if you can get them excited about a project, because most of the time they love photography too, get them excited about a project, you're much more likely to get that sponsorship money coming in. The key with making videos is just to give it a go and then upload it. Like this, you just got to put yourself out there. It's difficult, it's awkward, but you just got to do it and don't apologize. Don't hedge that you might be rubbish. Don't hedge that. Just go there with confidence. Present with confidence. Don't put yourself down all the time on camera like I see a lot of people doing when they start out, because as the viewer, you don't really want to see that. Consistency is key. I've failed with that over the last couple of years. This year, I want to get one out every single week. So make sure you are subscribed as I feed the algorithm and try not to worry about views and just have fun making these videos and communicating with you and having some adventures and stuff like that. That sounds pretty cool to me. One of my biggest bits of advice for professional photographers in 2024 is to keep your business nimble. I had bloated, I think, over the last couple of years, and in the middle of last year got rid of my studio because it was initially very useful, but it became a bit of a money pit really. I'd got too comfortable there. Yeah, it wasn't earning or generating enough revenue to justify keeping it, so I got rid of it. Now out and about and being much more productive. I was devastated to hear about Joe Cornish's gallery closing in Northallerton after 20 odd years. Absolutely gutting. And in this frankly disastrous economy, small businesses are closing left, right and centre, and it's absolutely brutal conditions. So I think by staying nimble and able to try new things and react to things quickly is what's going to help you survive. I think it's important to try new things and do new things and just be open to opportunities. I would also add though that I think you should, as a general rule, not you should, but I, as a general rule, avoid working for free. Your time is valuable. You should be paid for the work that you do. You don't want to get a reputation as being the guy or the girl that works for free. And if you're thinking about making the leap to being full-time or a professional photographer, you absolutely need to make sure what your burn rate is. How much do you need every month to get by? That's pretty much vital. It's very different for different people. I have a family with 2 kids and a mortgage and stuff like that, so my burn rate is pretty high, so my monthly income needs to be really quite decent to get by. So when companies come to me and I send them a quote, I know that I've got to have that first. If the daily rate drops below that, I know I can't do it. Makes it a lot easier knowing that, to then value yourself. And physically, you want to be nimble as well. That's certainly what I'm trying to do right now. Right, so I'm now set up for a shot which is going to be my final image of the day, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But my final tip, and it's surprisingly difficult sometimes, and I find it hard, is just to get out there and make pictures, because that's what we do, isn't it? It's hard and we struggle with motivation, but the hardest step is the one out of the door. Once you've done that, everything else kind of falls into line. It happens to me every single time, and it's always so rewarding when I do it, getting that boost to my well-being, the physical exercise, being out in the landscape, stood in nature, absorbing these moments. It's inspiring, and it's what it is all about. But we're talking about being full-time here and professional. So I've struggled with this over the last couple of years. I stopped doing the thing that got me to where I am today. I was just sort of resting on my laurels, and it was starting to not feel good. And I'm now getting back to what I was doing before, and that is to outwork the next guy. Because just by doing that, you give yourself an advantage straight away, because you're doing things that other people don't do, or they don't want to do, or they can't do, or they're unwilling to put themselves through. Ultimately, that's the secret to my success. So I started doing it again in the middle of sort of last year, and it paid dividends. I actually ended up last year with a really good number of pictures that I'm very proud of. And I want to continue that momentum and get even better pictures in 2024 and enjoy every second of it. But yeah, I am actually making a picture right now. Now, I've shot this scene before in much better light than this. So it may not be the best one I've ever done, but that's the point as well. You've got to get out with no expectations, because sometimes these things do change and work for you. And I think I'm trying to make the best of this today, because there is actually some really interesting colour in the sky, if you can see that. There's just a bit of detail in there. Lovely colour. It's going to need a bit of processing, that one, I think. And I'll show you that picture in a minute, but it's just a great way to finish the day. I hope you've got something out of this video, whether you're turning pro, whether you're pro, or whether you're just an amateur and you were just curious. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate your time. I look forward to taking you on a lot more adventures this year. Don't forget to check the Squarespace link out down below, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.